It's amazing how still with everything happening right now in the country and all that, that people like Harry Sisson still have any followers and people actually listen to him. We all know, huge fan of Harry. He just loves to say just dumb stuff nonstop. That's easily, proven wrong. And then he just turns off the comments. No one can say anything anymore to prove that which proves he's being a jackass. But the other day on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, you know, put out a tweet saying people complaining to people that said they weren't going to vote for Biden in the next coming time because of everything happening in Israel right now. And, that's not fair. And stuff like, that and conversations like that and statements like that is what got us President Trump in the first place. And it got me thinking a little, which I tend to, do way too much. So, shocker, you know, I know, crazy, but he might be onto something, outside of him being batshit crazy and him saying that he's, you know, here to try to get, people the truth to vote for Biden and what's going on, even though the whole world's burning down around him. And he's still telling people they have to keep doing this, even if they're down at the dumps and worse off than they were because it's still our fault, even though it's their policies, which makes no sense again, which is why I don't understand how the whole the wheel keeps rolling because it's asinine. But him saying talks like that are what got us Trump in the first place. That got me thinking, you know, and that got me thinking about a lot. But if you think about it, the stuff that he was saying, he's really not lying. Talks like that or got us Trump in the first place because things were so god awful stupid under Obama and Biden, that whole regime, at the end of it, that is indeed what got Trump because it was so bad and people were hurting so much. And the federal government, like, we're here to help you. We're here to help you. We all know Ronald Reagan said about that. That's enough. The federal government, I'm here to help you. Like, they're not. And, it's mesmerizing. But, coming out of him saying that, he was also going and campaigning for Joe Biden while Joe was saying we're going back to normal. And that really got me thinking because their version of normal, that is what got us Trump in the first place. Their own doing and their own asininery. Don't know if it's a word, but I like it. On this beautiful Saturday morning, asininery is what got us to where we are because there are so many people that saw, all their jobs leave and their towns get, turned into shitholes and all this. Now I remember Scranton at one point, before them, every career assistance, I know what Scranton and the mall at Steamtown and all that looked like before they were done with their like first term. Like a lot of things got bad and a lot of Rust Belt areas even worse than they were. That wasn't normal. The price of energy and all that, not normal. Jobs numbers, no matter what you say. Congratulations, he created jobs, 90% of which in those last 3 years under Obama and Biden were part-time, which helped no one. Slowest recovery ever. And really the biggest thing when you think about it, Hillary did us all favors to get, Trump as well by saying she was going to just keep doing the same stuff that was going on, the killing babies thing up to, when they're born, like abort them up to 36 weeks. That kind of pissed off a lot of people. What difference does it make with the whole Benghazi thing? Like there were a lot of things that worked against them. They tried to, claim as normal. We're going to go back to that. So got a pretty decent list of, some things after he said that. I like that is what got us President Trump in the first place. I'm going to go over stuff from, Obama Biden era. Then I'm going to go over stuff from just Biden so far where they just extended things and made things worse. And then we'll get to the Trump stuff. But there's a long list for all the Americans out there, but anyone, share it out with anyone, no matter what side they're on, because they're all irrefutable. They're all facts. They all really, really happened. And those conversations were caused by this, which is then what in turn got us Trump because everything was a shit sandwich. So here we go. It's not the longest list, but there's a lot that I didn't put because I didn't want to be here forever. And I guys, figured you didn't want to hear it. But endless American lives being lost in other people's wars, Iraq, people dying, Afghanistan, obviously, conflicts here and there, everywhere, those were happening. We all know that. They kept saying that they were going to, end it all. Never did, never even got close or pretended to. When they got people out of, Iraq, they drew it down. And then they just like Afghanistan, they started just bombarding the bejesus out of it with, you know, missiles and killing all kinds of innocent people and turning people against us. Look it up. It was real. Endless spending on conflicts, the way we always seem to find ourselves into, to include, times in Afghanistan, obviously Iraq, where, Obama and Biden, that whole White House was funding and arming both sides of the Syrian civil war, which I believe one of the sides was actually ISIS. So we gave them all the stuff in the world that they knew, and they were knowingly funding and supplying terror groups and stuff for them to fight against each other, which is amazing. And then you get the countless red lines that he told, Bashir Assad from Syria, the president. I just butchered that name. I started to get it off the top of my head. Yeah, but gassing his people, don't do this, and they kept just not doing anything, which is amazing and how bad it was. But we were funding both sides, and there were terror attacks everywhere. Like there were tunnels dug into Jerusalem by Hamas that had to be closed off and sealed because they were coming through and carrying out terrorist attacks. We never stopped hearing about ISIS. ISIS-K, anyone. Hezbollah, like no matter what, taking people out and doing attacks everywhere. That was very real. Benghazi, again, what difference does it make? They called for help for forever till the people that were, they wanted to help, they couldn't get, approval for it because they couldn't get a hold of anyone for that many hours. Amazing, isn't it? Commander-in-Chief, Secretary of State, all of them fundraising, I believe it was, in Vegas. Couldn't get a hold of anyone. And people died. And again, that was a cleanup job and all kinds of other things. But that happened with no accountability. The jobs market was garbage, slowest recovery ever. And, it took them 5 years to do anything, but like 90% of those jobs that they created were part-time. And what does that give anyone security-wise? Like if they have a full-time job, they just need another one to get a couple more hours, make a few more bucks, or they're bored, that helps. But when people are looking for like full-time employment, millions of part-time jobs doesn't do anything except take quality of life down, because you're not working one job, you're going to have to work multiple jobs, which doesn't help. The housing market, which again, part him, not him. Yeah, can't fully blame, but it was real. Crime was up. Never-ending border numbers, which catch and release policy, which we thought were, the tipping point. Well, we're the worst of it until Joe got in office, but again, that's another story. Never-ending missile rocket testing by North Korea, overregulation, which killed everything at the time, record high prices for energy and stuff, energy stupidity. Russia annexed Crimea, no one did a damn thing. And that's just getting to it and started. And I hate to break it to you, none of these things were normal. All the spying and targeting of people, including the guy from Fox, religious, Christian groups, IRS stuff that they meddled with and did all of that spying on everyone at the NSA. All this, like, there's just so much that was going on that no one cared about. And now to Biden and everything going back to normal, as they said, which proves that this is their idea of normal, which is not very normal. The border, record after record, like what? Trump's last 3 years just squeaked out Biden's first year by a couple 100,000. Like just his first year. That's how many people came across the border they just encountered. It doesn't include the getaways and the people that they don't even know happened, which are millions higher than the numbers we actually know. Overdose deaths hit six figures for the first time ever, even though they were, after they were going down, huge jump to make that happen. Adolescent suicide and stuff, that is on the way up too. But the way we left Afghanistan, 13 people that died there, him checking his watch. They knew who, what, when, where, and how the attack was going to happen at that airport. They did it anyway. Why'd they leave Bagram in the middle of the night without telling anybody? Because that's actually secure. It wasn't just a fence up against an airport that we were trying to fend everyone off. In mass stupidity, no one's been accountable. And again, to the people like Harry who said they were all out of, they were out of doing like it was our top-notch gear we left behind. It was, out of date. But our out of date is still decades ahead of what any of them have over there, which is the problem. None of them actually think and see big picture. They just flap their jibs at whatever someone tells them to, and they go. But again, crime up, energy prices up, the identity and race politics, which again started way under Obama. If you didn't like his policy, it wasn't because it sucked. It was because you were racist. That's when really all of that started. And, everything with people getting hired because of that. They're fighting racism with racism. And I never understood that. Like, he's going to be the first Hispanic man to ever do this. And he's going to be the first black man to ever do this. And she's the first black female vice president. That's why they picked her. They said it was going to be a female in the minority. They didn't really have a lot of options. Like, picking people based on that is actually, based on the color of their skin. No matter how it is, it's still racism. Can't fight racism with racism. It just makes perpetual racism, which, that's all Joe knows. But, it doesn't work. Gender being pushed everywhere, which again is dumb. And that's why adolescent and, let's just say minors, suicide rates are, elevated. Everyone's are, but that's a scary number. And jump the inflation number while down is still way up. The CPI score, no matter how many times they sell you on economy's doing good and prices are coming down because inflation's going down, the CPI is still going up, which means the consumer price index, our prices are still going north, even with inflation going down. Wages are down around 10K. Interest rates, record high. Mortgage rates, generational high, which is why I'm still here and will be for a long time, because I'm not going to get it. None of us are going to get near 2.25 anytime soon. So I'm not screwing that one up. The oil situation in the country and bowing out to countries like Iran that hate us and refuse to take Joe's calls at some point, sponsor terror groups. Again, terror groups, groups like ISIS through the years, Hezbollah, like Hamas, carry out attacks on Americans and just innocents in Iraq, Syria, Beirut, Lebanon, which is in there. And this little place called Israel. It's funny how we gave them all that money to Iran, froze it, unfroze it. And suddenly this is happening. And the weapons we left in Afghanistan have ended up in the hands of people in Hamas, amazing, and giving billions to anyone that chants death to America and death to Jews and death to Israel, sounds genius. Because they love us so much, let's go and buy oil from them. But we're giving money to people that chant all of that, like people that say that they're the ones that are fighting sexism and racism and homophobia, Islamophobia, transphobia, everything. But yet they're supporting people that behead people just for doing that and getting money from them to get oil that is produced dirtier than what we do because we're more advanced. It's one of those, big dumb things. But again, Hamas's attack on Israel, the rape, murder, kidnapping, tortures, everything else that's happening, abductions, bombings, innocent lives lost, no matter what. Like, who do you think funded that? Iran, sir. The Biden administration. We had our own Bull Bergdahl, just like, Obama and them did with the Brittany Griner merchant and death victor bout trade. The people that were left behind in Afghanistan that are, Israel, embassies in places like Beirut and Iraq, where, all hell started breaking loose, which isn't good. Everything about race and orientation, again, instead of capabilities, which is why everything's gone to hell. You should put capable people in the jobs no matter what they are, not just do it because of the color of skin, because you can't fight racism with racism. Retirement being down, savings being down, weaponizing the government again. Look at all the stuff we know about all the people on the left. For some reason, it's just Trump, 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 no matter what. It's their only obsession, and it seems to be pushing them towards getting Trump. But I think that's the grand scheme, because all they have to do is mention his name and tens of millions of people go vote for whoever it is against him. You know it. I know it. We all know it. But VA sucks. Congratulations. I was almost comfortable with the VA. Now I can't even get travel checks within 8 months of my appointment, which is sweet. That's really good. But everything's gone to absolute hell and shit, just like, because the same people that were under Obama, most of them are working, a lot of them are working with Biden. And we're getting the same policies, except we're getting even worse results. Excuse me. But it's back to normal. It's the normal that they said they were going to get and that they promised. And, it comes back to the old adage, tough times make strong men make good times make weak men make tough times. That whole adage, well, guess what? We are now in the tough times because things were so good. And that we got feeble, Joe Biden and all of his idiots that support him, because you have to be at this point with everything that's gone on. Weak idiots that you look at, to call them the wrong pronoun, they start crying and have a mental breakdown. That's called weakness. We are stuck there. And that got us Biden. Shouldn't have, but they just ran so much BS. And what was so bad about, Trump is one, none of them can ever, they come off with all the talking points, but they don't have any policy or anything because his energy policies and prices were way better first time in decades. We weren't somehow brought into another conflict to endlessly spend and lose lives. And might I add, we've spent more money in Ukraine than Russia has. And Russia invaded them, is at war with them, and we spent more than them. That's bad and never ending. But that's what they do, the war machine. It's what we are. They got that. The border, crime rates were actually down, not the biggest, but they were down a lot of things. The border was under control, way better than it ever was here again. Trump's last 3 years barely beat out Biden's first. And don't worry, his next year shattered any thoughts of that. Stop wasting money on the Paris Accords because we paid more than anyone. No one else was actually going to do anything to slow down their carbon output except for us, really. We were putting in the most money, which made no sense. NATO, whole conversation we can have about that. The WHO doesn't need our money. Bad actors like Iran, all that. We actually put tariffs on things, stop businesses from leaving. And if they left now jobs there, they're going to pay a high tariff to bring it into the country. They have no choice because big market is America. Categories, Middle Eastern leaders in the same room shaking hands and agreeing on anything with the Abraham Accords. And those guys have been trying to kill each other since the dawn of time, some of them. So for those countries to even be near each other and shaking hands is an amazing step that no one agreed on. Low energy prices, real wages were up, jobs were up, but yet they made him out to be Hitler and the worst thing ever. And they kept running on, and keep going on, look at the jobs. Trump lost America jobs and cost them jobs, and it was all because of COVID, because everything had to shut, because they shut everything down for how many months? In some blue states, shut it down for forever. And he was the big bad, he was xenophobic, I believe is the word. Everyone's using it racist because it wasn't that bad when he did the travel bans. Everyone said he's this big bad xenophobic racist, but then suddenly a week later, there were all the Dems going, why didn't he do anything sooner? Even though they were telling people to come out to the streets, come to street fairs, travel, do all of that. So he's a racist for doing it so early. But then at the same time, there's people saying that he didn't do it fast enough. Like you can't yell at the man for doing anything before like a week before any of you because it was too early. And then a week later say he didn't move fast enough when he moved a week faster than you did. Can't have it both ways. But they have that argument. And they really they run on it, and it's terrifying. But if the Democrats really in all actuality actually put time into doing anything instead of attacking Trump and MAGA Republicans and lying and everything else, the gaslighting, everything else they do, they could actually be pretty amazing people. All of them could, but most of the government sucks on both sides in Congress and the Senate. Most of them don't give a goddamn about any of us. And once people realize that and come together, it'd be great. But attacking continuously the whole time and just ignoring all the problems isn't good. But, it was blatant incompetence and ignorance that got us, that got the country to where it was, which is what got us Trump. Now going back to normal, as they put it, is proving that point that it absolutely sucked. So that's what did it. It wasn't conversations like that, Harry. It's the fact that everything absolutely sucked. Without, him, before him, and now post him. And, can't deny any of it. Those are all facts. Those are all real things that happened. And it doesn't matter if you don't like it. Your feelings are hurt too goddamn bad. That's what got us Trump. It wasn't talks about, oh, we're not going to vote for him because of Israel. No. It's sheer incompetence. And people going, God damn, that got us Trump. Because Hillary promised to run on this. The problem is we had 4 years of not this and just pure Trump's Hitler run by the media and everything, which got us there. But remember, elections have consequences, and that's where, I'll leave it because it couldn't be any more true. So thank you for watching and listening. Sorry, I went a little longer than I wanted to. Don't forget to check out the socials at Jay Rucinski Show on X, the Jesse Rucinski Show everywhere else, including TikTok, Instagram, all of that. Check out the sponsors. You got Reaper Apparel Co., W Energy, Goth Treasures, Hodge Twins, Hold the Line, and I have the Etsy stores to find that. Everything available on the link tree, which is on the socials. So get that, and whenever the show uploads or anything, it's all right there. The Etsy store is there for support. Share the hell out of it. All I appreciate all of it. Every little share helps. And until we meet again, my friends, I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. Peace.